What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Monday Night Football pre-lock show to wrap up the week in football that was, is, and will be. It's going to be a good one tonight, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. But as always, here on Monday Night Football pre-lock show, joined by SquirrelPatrol. Squirrel, how did the week treat you? And how's those nuts hanging, brother?
Yeah, it was another one of those weeks I kind of look at and think, I don't know how I didn't make a ton of money. It's like my number one correlation was Derrick Henry and Terry McLaurin, and they both got 2 touchdowns. But just not enough like Sean Tucker or whatever. And it was probably a little bit too much for Jake Ferguson. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, week was okay. And we got a good game tonight. I mean, maybe not an offensive, showdown, but this is an important game for the AFC East standings. Like the Dolphins aren't looking good, Patriots aren't looking good, so the only two other teams left is the Bills and the Jets. So we'll see who comes out on top tonight.
Yeah, I would say looking forward to a good game tonight, but it's probably not going to be all that great of a game. It's probably going to be relatively boring because that's the way the Jets play, and that's the way Buffalo's probably going to, go right along with them. But we'll talk about that more as we go on. As always, guys, this is a show where we'd love to answer all your questions. We're going to run through some players. We're going to run through some player props at some point. We'll get some of those queued up for you. We'll do a little SimLabs work. We always like to mess around with the SimLabs. That is a nice, easy way to construct lineups, like quick and well thought out lineups that you don't have to worry too much about, too much time. We'll talk about that. And but answering the questions, that's what we love to do here. That's the bread and butter. So if you're watching this, then you know what RG is. I don't know if you know what RG Combo Light plug is. The plug for RG Combo Light here. We got the Combo Light now. It's a really good thing. It's the Combo Light. It's just $40, $39.99. It includes the SimLabs, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. The Sims are they're the wave of the future. Is what I don't think they're so much the wave of the future, but they're a great way to get those lineups in a hurry. It's pretty competitive stuff. You get content from all your favorite DFS analysts like SquirrelPatrol here. The Combo Light doesn't limit you to one sport either. It includes SimLabs access to all 4 popular sports: MLB, NFL, NBA, PGA have SimLabs. Hopefully we get some college football pretty soon, and I'd love for him to do some hockey too. I don't know if you're in the hockey streets, John, but that'd be an awesome SimLabs product. And so all that stuff, RG Combo Light Premium, RG Combo Light, not Premium, RG Combo Light. Get it, nice and cheap, guys. You do a little hockey, don't you, Squirrel?
I don't do hockey, but James Cook is out. We just got that news.
Okay. They elevated Frank Gore from the practice squad earlier. The writing was kind of on the wall, but I'm glad we get, we get plenty of word here. That's what's good about the NFL is you get that 90-minute buffer there, man. It's not like the NBA. That news in the NBA, had that been a starting power forward in the NBA, that would have come in about 2-3 minutes before lock. So we got 90 minutes now, so we'll adjust for it. All right. Let's just talk about that then. James Cook came in with a questionable tag. We didn't know what he was going to do. I think everybody kind of assumed he might just power through it, though, and play. But then about an hour ago, we got word that Frank Gore was going to be lifted from the practice squad. That always signals somebody's going to be out at that particular position. In this case, it is James Cook. So talk to me what that might do to you at the running back position in this showdown slate.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to leave Ty Johnson and Ray Davis really underpriced. Ty Johnson's the guy that's getting a little bit more work, but like Ray Davis is maybe more of like the straight line replacement. Like he's probably a little bit more like James Cook. So I don't know that we have necessarily unless we have some kind of pregame interview with the coach or something. Like I don't know we necessarily know which way it's going to go. But in terms of like DraftKings, Davis is 3,000. Ty Johnson is only 5,200. I mean, I think we should be jamming these guys probably into our lineups, and I'd play both of them at this point because they're both going to be really underpriced. Unless we get maybe a word that we intend to definitely go with Ray Davis. He's our number one guy, and Johnson's going to mix in on passing downs or something like that. I would I would jam both these guys in. Like they probably won't be highly owned enough, even though they're going to still, people are going to adjust. We have 90 minutes. They're probably not going to be highly owned enough.
Yeah, you mentioned the name Sean Tucker earlier, and it's a throwback to yesterday where Rashad White was out, and everybody kind of gravitated toward Bucky Irving when it turns out Sean Tucker was always going to get plenty of work yesterday, because we saw that it was like 2 drives for Irving, and then boom, Tucker came in. It's not like, he was planned on getting work. So we don't know what the coaches are thinking. Like you said, it could go anyway. The Ty Johnson's been getting more work, so Ty Johnson could just elevate even more this game, and Ray Davis could elevate a little bit, and they could play it off like that. Ray Davis could slide into the James Cook role, and Ty Johnson could not move hardly at all. And Ray Davis gets the big one. We have no idea, so we'll try to break it down a little bit more as we go on. But Khalil Shakir is active. If you had asked me about 4 or 5 hours ago between Shakir and Cook, which one was going to be inactive and which one was going to be active, I would have gone the other way around. So that's an interesting one. What were you doing builds earlier? Were you planning it as if Shakir was in or out?
I was planning. Yeah, I was actually doing the exact same thing you said, because I think Shakir only got 1 practice in. It was like a limited practice, and it seemed like I don't know, the reports pre-game he was moving around really gingerly, so that didn't sound great. And then I think James Cook had said like, oh, I'm gonna be good to go or something like that, or intends to play, some kind of verbiage like that. I think it was from Schefter. But so this is a surprise. I was planning on Cook out, and I thought like Shakir, or I was planning on Cook in. I thought Shakir was probably 50-50. But yeah, when I saw the same, Frank Gore news, I'm like, ooh, that's like they don't activate guys unless they really think they might need them. And so that I thought like that's not good for James Cook's status.
Yeah. So let me see. Chris Longo. Is that Chris? Is he the one who asked that question? Yes. He asked, what does SimLabs do? You know what? Stick around and we'll do a screen share here in a few minutes. It's a way to build lineups other than lineup HQ. That's one way to do it. SimLabs is another way to do it, where you don't have to, it's a little bit easier. You don't have nearly the control. You don't have hardly any control, very little control in SimLabs, but it's going to build you some solid lineups. Like a lineup HQ got all the control, but you're kind of dependent on your settings and your projections being really good. Stick around. We'll mess around with. Let's see if I got any questions. Tyler Conklin is active. Doesn't sound like much, but to be honest, when I was running lineups earlier, they was sticking in a lot of Tyler Conklin on. For the first time, I'm going to do the 2-game slate because I feel like there's anytime I see like a little bit of an edge in the 2 games, I like to play the 2-gamer. So I'm doing the 2-gamer, and it was sticking a lot of Tyler Conklin in there at tight end for me. So that is kind of a big deal right there. Let's see here. Let's talk about the game itself, Squirrel. We got Buffalo and the Jets. Buffalo's a slight favorite here on the road. Very, very low total here. What do you make of it in general?
Yeah, so both teams are coming in on 2-game losing streaks, but it's not really the worst of like 2-game losing streaks. I think the Jets lost to like Denver by a point, which isn't good. Then they lost to Minnesota, who's beat everybody, and then the Bills on the other side. It was like 3 weeks ago. The Bills were just demolishing Jacksonville, and we're like, oh man, this team looks fantastic. And now they've lost 2 in a row. But again, it was Baltimore and Houston, so maybe not the worst losses in the world. I think Buffalo's the better team here, and I'd kind of lean even towards like Buffalo, -1 or -1.5. Like they're on the road here, but this is not like a terrible road trip going across New York State. So I kind of side with the Buffalo side, but the Jets have a really good defense, and it does seem like the Jets like firing their coach, and it wasn't totally expected. That I don't know, like there could be some chaos going on there behind the scenes. So I kind of like the Buffalo side, but Jets have a really good defense. So we'll see how it plays out. It obviously wouldn't be a shock to see the Jets win this game. I just lean towards Buffalo.
That first game I don't know what the word is. It's not momentum. Like that first game vibe after you fire a coach, you make a major shakeup like that. Seems to like carry some weight, that first game or so until things kind of settle in. So I guess we'll see how it goes. Derek was asking here, what do you think of a 5-1 with Allen in the captain, 2 running backs, 2 pass catchers? So I guess 5-1 leaning towards Buffalo with all those Buffalo pieces. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I would say that like Allen does pass to the running backs. So like I would like include those as like as pass catchers, particularly like Ty Johnson. Um, like he tends to be the more of the receiving back, I think, for the Bills, more so than Ray Davis. Davis is like a rookie, but I do think they like think highly of him. So we'll see. I think it could go either way. It wouldn't shock me at all if they like split work. I mean, like both of these guys have actually been working in alongside, like with James Cook active. So, if it comes down to like a trust thing, I think they'd probably trust Johnson a little bit more.
Butthole Jenkins he says going heavy on the Jets today. Anytime a coach or QB get replaced or fired, the team goes off. Yeah, there's kind of that feeling. What if this firing of Robert Saleh, the defensive minded head coach for the Jets, what if this makes their offense like boom, they get it, they click, they go now, but the defense struggles? What if they do a 180 of what who knows, man? Like some of the defensive players were upset at this firing. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, anything can happen. Squirrel, you got any good player props for us later on? Because we're gonna do some player propping here in a little bit, but so we want you to get it queued up for us, man. Let's see. Let's talk. Have we talked about the basics of this game yet? Enough, like coaching change. We kind of hit on some of the inactive news. We hit on. I think we can just go ahead and pull up the SimLabs now. Let's pull up the SimLabs screenshot and see if we can't talk through some lineups here as we go. We're going to take you to about an hour before kickoff, so that's about 21 minutes away. At some point, we'll do, at the very end, we'll do our plums. Feel it in the plums play of the night for showdowns. I got mine. I hope Squirrel doesn't take mine, but that's okay if he does. I'll have a second one queued up. We're going to talk about some player props in a minute, but let's look at the SimLabs here. So we're on the Showdown DraftKings SimLabs front page here. As you can see, there's some, I don't know. Do you ever look at the simulated cash lines for a slate, Squirrel? Does that ever do anything for you?
Not really.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, I'm curious sometimes as to, when things are lower scoring, some slates are lower scoring than others. This one's definitely the majority of the winning cash lines are going to fall in between that lower scoring range than typical. So I think that's interesting. Optimal versus the projected ownership, that's there on the front page. You can pull that up. So let's get into some settings now for SimLabs.
I'll say quick, maybe before we dive into it, it hasn't updated for James Cook being out yet.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? We don't know when they're going to update. Sometimes they're a little slow on that. So, let's do some lineup HQ talk then. Maybe we'll get it. Let's give them about 5 or 10 minutes to update that and see if we can get the James Cook update. That will make a difference. They'll definitely do it, but we're on so much earlier now. They got to do the other stuff first. All right, let's talk about, in general, some of these quarterbacks here tonight, Squirrel. Okay, we got Allen. We got Aaron Rodgers. Allen we know what he is. He's a workhorse. He's a solo guy. You don't have to pair him. Even if this was a main slate, theoretically, you wouldn't even have to pair him with anybody. Showdown for sure don't have to pair him with anybody. What's your feelings on Josh Allen in that captain spot? And then talk to me about Aaron Rodgers. Will you even have any Aaron Rodgers? He seems so boring this year.
I'll have some Aaron Rodgers, but I do, obviously I prefer Josh Allen. I'll say he's my second favorite captain choice. But, I write my article for almost like every primetime game, and I'm usually like in terms of like strategy, I'm coming up with like a way to get it against the chalk. And for this article, it's like I don't think that like getting against the chalk in the captain spot isn't necessarily the way to go. Like I think you can get different. I don't think you need to get different by like bypassing Josh Allen or Breece Hall. I'll look to maybe get different in the flex. Like Allen makes up such a big part of this offense, and he can add rushing yards. He gets rushing touchdowns. So yeah, I mean, I like Josh Allen definitely in the captain spot. As my second favorite captain. I'll say I don't mind Rodgers. I would pair Rodgers with like two Jets receivers. That's not really like the game script I'm building for primarily though. I think it's I think it's going to be either the Bills like through Josh Allen or the Jets through Brees Hall.
Okay. While we're here and we're talking about the main guys, let's talk real quick. I'm seeing some questions about FanDuel. MVP on FanDuel. It's a Josh Allen slate, man. So it's tough to get away from that guy on FanDuel. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the best MVP, but I like Brees Hall as well. So yeah, I don't know. I will say that on FanDuel, actually, I think you can go with Brees Hall, and I don't think it's necessarily crazy. Well, you know what? This Buffalo, I was going to say, it's not impossible that Josh Allen gets priced off the lineup, right? Like if you're not using Josh Allen in the MVP spot, like you could maybe put together a combination of the higher priced guys. The issue now, though, is you're going to have Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. Davis is 7,000, Ty Johnson 7,500. Now it's a lot less likely that Josh Allen gets priced off the winning lineup, even though he's 2,000 more than every other player in the FanDuel contest. Yeah, I don't know. I think you can get away from Josh Allen in a large field contest and go with someone like Brees Hall or even Aaron Rodgers. But I would want to make that lineup carefully. And I would use at least one Jets pass catcher in the flex spot if I'm using Rodgers in the MVP.
Yeah. Wrap up a couple of questions here in chat for us. Well, first of all, here's a comment. It's not Salah's fault. Hassan Reddick likes being a diva. I wouldn't say Hassan Reddick was the downfall of the Jets this year. But speaking of Reddick, he got him a new agent today. So, and it's one of the best maybe the best in the business. So maybe he's about to come to term and get into the Jets camp. That was a bizarre thing that happened to the Jets. This whole offseason / first part of the year was Hassan Reddick. I don't know what's going on there. Give the old SimLabs a refresh here just to see if we're not quite there yet. It's all good. Let's see. Rodgers worries me. He seems like his legs are toast. Yeah, he looks really, really awful. And he was a sneaky, decent runner at his time in Green Bay. Even later in his career, he could get out of the pocket and scramble a little bit, good enough to get first downs and stuff and get out of bounds, not take hits. He's awful right now. He's a statue. He's not very good with his legs at all. What do you think of Ty Johnson or Ray Davis in captain now that Cook is out? There's a lot of spin-ups that allows you to get within the flex players. What do you think about that?
Actually, I don't mind that at all because they're really cheap, and then you can put in who you want in the rest of your flex spots. And I think these guys are going to get work. Like the Bills use the running backs. They usually use more than one running back, and I probably just takes a touchdown. And they're going to get some yardage. They're probably going to both get some receptions. I don't know. Yeah, I would use them in the captain spot. If you want, if you want to be getting like Josh Allen, Brees Hall, and like Garrett Wilson, I think you can put one of these cheap running backs in the captain spot. I'll say for smaller field and double ups and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't go there. For large field contests, yeah, I think they're definitely in play.
Yeah. So Derek said he still hasn't started watching The Penguin, and TJ said he's on episode 5. No spoilers, guys, but please don't spoil this. But I have not started yet. But that's my next show up because I've heard from multiple sources that is an excellent, excellent show. So that's my next one up. But tonight, Squirrel, I'm on the season finale of Shogun. So I got the Shogun.
Ooh, another spectacular show right there.
No spoilers, brother. No spoilers. But so yeah, I'm gonna wrap that one up tonight, and then I'll start Penguin tomorrow night. But
no spoilers at all. But just truly only good things to say about the Penguin. I had high expectations, and it blew them away. It's absolutely nuts.
No spoilers, but how would you describe it?
Sopranos set in the Batman universe.
That's exactly okay. That's the second time I've heard the
That's
word
a common
Sopranos.
one. That's a common one.
I don't know why.
But like crime family character, what's the word I'm looking for? Like exploration. Like
Okay.
it's not. It just focus. It has some really great characters, and it focuses on like the family aspect and loyalty and betrayal, and it's really really good.
Okay, that's the next one in queue then. All right, let's see here. A couple more questions. All right, Jay Kearney, Conklin at captain on DK or keep him in the flex. What do you think about that?
I probably prefer him in the flex. And I think I'll probably end up using less of him now that I've got, like Ray Davis and Ty Johnson to work with. But I didn't mind Conklin earlier, but now he may not need that savings as much. But I don't know. Aaron Rodgers looks at the tight end, right? So I don't think it's a crazy play. I'd probably be more inclined to use him in the flex and try to use, somebody else in the captain spot.
Yeah, I think when you want to go with a cheap, mundane captain on DraftKings, it is to save the salary and load up on your flexes and all that. I just don't think that it's necessary now with the extra value that's been opened up with James Cook. So yeah, I'm with you. Let's keep him in the flex. A couple more questions, then we're going to go to SimLabs because it looks like it's been updated. On FanDuel, Johnson and the Bills defense or Davis and Bass?
Probably good Davis and Bass.
Bills D, Bass, probably around the same amount of upside, not a whole lot with the defense and the kicker. So you got Davis and Johnson. Comes down to what your preference would be. I'm with you. Davis, I think, is the guy right there. All right. I don't see any more questions right now. Let's pull up some SimLabs real quick and give it a refresh. Looks like we've got an update in there. So let's talk about some settings for tonight before we even get into it. We're on a showdown. Your settings are probably a little different than they would be for a 10-gamer this past weekend or next weekend. What's the main thing here you're going to focus on as far as do you want more upside? Do you want more correlation on a night like tonight? Do you want to kick out the ownership, not worry about it? What's the one bar in the advanced settings that we're going to tinker with here, Squirrel?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely set the okay, for here, I don't necessarily need a ton of correlation. I like a little bit of correlation. I'd like to always make sure I'm messing with the bars a little bit. And I will say for Showdown, I tend to go more for the upside. I think we can go medium or high. I'll say that I don't necessarily for different quarterbacks. If we had two passing quarterbacks, I might be more inclined to go with a high upside. I think with Josh Allen, we can stick with the medium upside. I always feel like projections, when you just run showdown lineups off of projections, you get a little bit too much of the quarterbacks in the captain spot, especially if they're more passing oriented quarterbacks. Whereas I like to get a lot of the wide receivers, and messing with the upside and increasing the upside tends to help that. Ownership. So when you put the ownership lever high, this is why I believe, so correct me if I'm wrong, I think with the ownership lever high, you tend to get lower owned players into your lineups. I try to increase it a little bit, but I don't go crazy. And then simulation weight and projection weight, I usually keep where they are.
Okay, we got that. And then we'll go to the normal settings and let's see. Contest field, we're going to be in a large field. That's what we're building for. Results range, this one is the diversity of your lineup. How diverse do you want it? I think that on this particular showdown where everything seems pretty tightly, and then you got two quarterbacks, you got your running backs. There's not a lot of pass catchers in a game like this that really jump off. There's Kincaid, Shakir's active. On the other side, there's Garrett Wilson. Not a whole lot of number 2s and 3s for the Jets. So I want my results range probably to be more on the low to medium side, So I don't want a bunch of diverse. If this was the Lions versus some other great offensive team out there. I would want I want the results range to be high. I'd want a variety of different pass catchers in there and things like that. But in this case, medium to low is fine. And let's plug in 150 lineups and let's get those lineups and see what they look like here and see what they're giving us here as a general rule. Doesn't take very long to build. If you're still hanging around with us and watching, comes up in less than 30 seconds. All right. Now you can go to the exposures tab and see out of those 150 lineups, exactly what it gave you here. And you're seeing we're getting a pretty good, all right. Okay, we're spreading out our main captains, Brees and Josh Allen. I figured it would be something in those, and it's an exact split right down the middle. And it's going to sprinkle you in some Garrett Wilson, Ray Davis, Aaron Rodgers, all very good choices there. So I don't know who's okay. Not to give away your Plums play of the night, which is coming up in about 5 minutes, but give me one captain we can focus on here and we can isolate in this.
Let's see. So I'll try not to give away my Plums. I kind of like these exposures.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, I would. I'd maybe have some fun with it and increase the Ray Davis. But I don't know if that's not necessarily like a studied take.
Let's focus on the Ray Davis. Can we isolate the Ray Davis here, and we'll pull up what those lineups look like? So that's 150 builds. Let's say you're only doing a 20 max, 20 lineups tonight, guys, and Ray Davis. So there's 14 Ray Davis lineups. If you're doing 20 and you want out of your 20, you want 5 Ray Davis, you just go down here and save 5 of these lineups or save 10 of these or whatever. But let's see what it's pulling up. So it's pulling up a lot of Ray Davis with Josh Allen. Garrett is giving you some really expensive players with Ray Davis, obviously, because he's a little cheaper and you're saving that money. So these look like some really good competitive lineups. What do you think about that lineup, too, where we got Brees Hall and Braylon Allen in the same lineup? Would you go that route tonight? Two Jets running backs.
Yeah, I actually would. It wouldn't shock me if Allen gets a little bit more, like Braylon Allen gets a little bit more tonight. Different, coaching change. He's looked pretty good so far this season. And I'll say, the Bills can give up some running back points in fantasy. So I don't mind, this dual running back lineup. And so many people use that as a rule. And it's a rule I usually use in my showdown lineups, like just one running back from the same team. But tonight, we've got some definitely, some strange, unique kind of situations. So I don't mind the idea of going, Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. And I don't mind the idea of going Brees Hall and Braylon Allen.
Yeah. So Jay Kearney even makes a comment about the double Bills running back. The one thing I learned a long time ago in DFS, used to be like, no, I don't want these players from the same team in the same lineup. I don't want that. But I come to realize after a while, it's not really it's a salary game. Like if they're cheap enough, you can plug. It's like the NBA. Like I could put 5 guys from the same team in the same lineup if we got injuries that night and everybody's cheap enough. It's a salary game. So these 2 guys are cheap enough. They will go in the same lineup. They're not bad. And kind of like the way the Ray Davis captain teams leads us here, because we're not expecting a lot of touchdowns here in this game. I'd be very surprised. So where are they gonna come from? You got to assume your quarterbacks are there, your number 1 running back for the Jets, and maybe some pass catchers. Like very, very few pass catchers are going to catch touchdowns tonight. So you're getting all that production in your flexes by using the cheap captain, a Ray Davis or Ty Johnson. But in this case, the Sims gave us Ray Davis. So Chris says, when I'm using SimLabs, do you go into the lineups and make changes or just plug them in? I don't make any changes. Squirrel will adjust his exposures a little bit. I'll just kind of peruse through it like this. I'll see what looks good. Like I like that lineup number 2 right there. So I'll go to the little icon at the top and save it. And it'll save it to my saved lineups over there. You can see that on the tab. Also, let's say these lineups right here. If I want to look at them up close with projections, I can sync. There's a little button right there. It says sync lineups to lineup HQ. You push that. It sends your lineups to lineup HQ on your RotoGrinders page, and then you can go in there and look at those lineups with the projections and ownerships and everything else next to them, and really get into it. And then that's when you can start switching out the actual individual players in a lineup if you want to. But kind of that's where we are. So that's kind of what it's given us here. We saw SimLabs wants to do a lot of Brees and Josh Allen captain lineups, sprinkling in some Ray Davis and some other cheapers. And that's the way, that's the way it is, man. I think that's I think it's on the money right there. So Squirrel, we got about 3 minutes left. Real quick, let's talk player props. You have anything that stands out for today without giving away your plums? You don't want to give away your plums, but player props that stand out for you today.
So one thing I would say, I do, if you can get like Braylon Allen, like over 9.5 yards receiving, I kind of like that. And I don't mind Brees Hall. I know it's like maybe minus 150, but like Brees Hall over 3.5 receptions, I think is good. Tend to go like more of the receiving yards on Braylon Allen and the receptions on Brees Hall. And then let's see. So yeah, some of this stuff's been like shaken up a little bit. I don't necessarily mind going like the under on Khalil Shakir yards. He's at about 33.5. He's popped up on, and I don't know. There was a report that he was moving gingerly pre-game, so like you never know like when guys are going to re-aggravate things, or if it's just like he's trying to get through it, but he's not going to be as effective as he normally would. And then kind of the flip side of that, I don't necessarily mind like Matt Collins over 17.5 yards. Like he could get that on one long catch. I believe, this is with Shakir out, but I think we had the 6 targets last week. So yeah, kind of like the Matt Collins over receiving yards, kind of like the Braylon Allen over receiving yards, Brees Hall over the receptions, and Khalil Shakir under on the receiving yards.
All right, I'll throw some out there. I'll throw a three-teamer out there, 3-player prop out there, just because I think there's a piece of it that, there's a little bit of correlation there. So first of all, you mentioned Khalil Shakir under. I like the under on Keon Coleman yards. He's not even been very explosive so far yet. And then he's drawn a tough assignment here against a Jets secondary that should be okay. Like he just doesn't get a lot of separation, and they can rush the passer, and so they're going to make it hard on him. I'm going under on the Keon Coleman receiving yards. Okay, so I'm going under on that. Now, we've heard this talk about the Jets kind of wanting to run the ball a little bit more with the new play caller. All right, so maybe you believe him. I'm going to say pick your running back, Brees Hall or Braylon Allen, and go over those rushing yards. If those guys truly do want to run the ball more, those numbers are too low. But don't pick them both. Just pick one of them, right? Let's say Brees Hall over 54.5 is what I got it at earlier. Now, if that happens and they do run the ball more, give me under the Aaron Rodgers pass attempts. Something's got to give. Like they're not going to air the ball out and run the ball a whole lot more. Something's got to give there. So if we can hit the one way, maybe we can hit the other. Get Coleman in there because we need two different teams in this thing. That's the way I'm leaning tonight. So Squirrel, we're at that time now. We got about an hour left. Okay, first off, last piece, Williams or Conklin, DK, GPP.
I'd actually go with Mike Williams, and that's the risky play. But I think he's going to far lower ownership. But Conklin's going to be more of a receptions guy. I feel like Mike Williams is probably going to see pretty low ownership, but he's going to have a good game at some point. He's still recovering from that knee injury, and this might be the week. So I think Williams is going to see very small ownership for his upside. I'd go Williams.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'm turning the floor over to the Plums play of the night for the Monday Night Football game. Squirrel, here's your shot at it.
All right, it's Plums time. I tried to hide it a little bit during the rest of the show, but Bills give up second most yards per carry. They give up the most receiving yards to running backs. Gave up the 6th most receiving yards to running backs last year. Most receptions per game to running backs. Give me Brees Hall. I know that he's going to be expensive, but now we've got the value to get him into our lineup. You can even put in Brees Hall as captain or MVP, then stick in a Ray Davis or a Ty Johnson, and leave a bunch of salary on the table now, and you're getting a lineup that's still going to project pretty well. I don't know. I'm feeling Brees Hall in the Plums.
Yeah, I'm glad I let you go first because that's I would have stole yours. But yeah, I like Breece Hall a lot too. But I'm going to give you my backup plan to that. You already said you like Shaquille under the receiving yards. I like Keon Coleman under. So my backup plan, it fits that narrative, which is Dalton Kincaid. Like, how are they going to attack this second? I don't think they're going to get shut out. I don't think Josh Allen is going to get held to a record number of low passing yards tonight. They're going to get something through the air. I think it's going to be Kincaid as their number one wide receiver. So I'll go Dalton Kincaid, fill it in the plums. Guys, that's going to wrap it up. Monday night, NFL Showdown, pre-live show. It's in the books. You got about 58 minutes to go build the rest of your lineups, play with some SimLabs, get up all the updated news, all that other good stuff. So behind the scenes, we appreciate TJ coming in here at nighttime doing this for Squirrel. You know, he doesn't have to be here. This guy's a multi-billionaire right now, just based on the DFS stuff. So we appreciate all that, guys. I was your host, Chop. Good luck in those GPPs. We'll see you on Thursday. But for now, we're out of here.